Well, I just wave everybody away. We'll see if anybody comes back. Honest to God, that 18 people here now the wrong one. This thing threw me a loop. Honestly. Yeah. See if anybody gets back. Well, there's one. Honestly. Hey. Well, I know that. I had 20 people here about 1 minute ago, and then I clicked on the wrong button, and it all went away. Very strange, very strange. I now have three. Let's see if anybody comes back. Really. And you have to try to find us. Play. 6. The longer I do this, the stupider I get. Honestly. 6. What kind of play? Let's play it. Let's play it then, Chris. Maybe that'll make us feel better.
Welcome to Father Fish and the Natural Aquarium.
Well, we got a few folks back. Oh dear. What you get hanging with somebody who's totally technologically illiterate. We're up to 10. We were at 20 a minute ago. My apologies. My stupidity. Let's see. Let's get back to comments. Nobody's got there and not say anything. Are they even here? Comments. Oh, let's see. Okay. So Erie is here. Erie made it in. I don't know. I think I'm written. StreamYard is changing their format. And they're creating all this new stuff. So now the minute you start a stream, they say, if you want to do an outro, then click here. So I clicked there because I thought, well, that would be cool. And it did the outro and shut it down. So I don't know. It's all just too much. Spiritual tag. Spiritual tag. I probably fixed. Been inspired by all your videos. You've heard all my tags to you mentioned. All my clients and bishops writing. Thank you. Well, delighted to hear from you. And thank you so much, Spiritual Aid. Spiritual Aid? Spiritual Ag. Nice to hear from you. And Christian is here. I'm feeling pretty good. Trying to figure out how to continue feeling well. I had a kind of a moment this morning where I felt something coming on that was not all that pleasant. It was, I don't know what it was exactly. It was kind of I'm fiddling with a mic. That'll probably be the next thing it cranks out. It was, I don't know, like a biological clock winding down. And I decided I'm not ready to go there. So I took a shower and had something to eat, drank some coffee, and it went away. There are all these funny little things that begin to happen when you're um, reaching up there. Let's see. This is JD, glad you fixed the live stream. Title. Oh, what's the decoration? I don't, yeah, I have no idea how that even happened because it was typed in correctly. I'm not going to even say what it was, but those of you who know, well, you know. And I caught it when I was going in to check on something. And I thought, oh no. And then I looked at the title coming in, how it was set up, and it was all correct. But it wasn't. I no idea how that happened. I really don't know. I know I'm not the only one messing with it, but I know the people who are messing with it would not deliberately sabotage. Now they may not deliberately sabotage. I don't put that beyond anyone. But yeah, I don't know how long it was up either. Really, just dreadful, dreadful. You laughed. Oh dear, what you said. You typed it. Yeah, it's what it said. It ain't what I typed. The word is chum, 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 chum. Somebody left out the H. I don't know. Feel weird. It was just bizarre. None of us above chaos. None of us love the headgear. I love this thing. It allows me to see my fish because I can't see them very well, even with my glasses. But this gives me a really good look at them. And I got some really, really nice guppings. Cinnamon brought a bunch of them down. And boy, there are some really amazing guppings in there. So I'm excited about that. I may even start some strains. They're that good and that remarkable. I know that's what she's doing, and these are from that batch. But I may dig into it and do a little more with it. It's an extended process doing it. I mean, it's 3 months to get a baby guppy to the point where it begins to look like something. But that means in a year you can do four generations in a year. That ain't really bad. I need to kind of speed it up here though. My goal is to get 6 generations. I just don't know what I can breed that'll get there that fast. Probably microworms. That would do it. Something I can breed in a day. What are the cadflies? Cadflies live for a day. But they go through a year-long process as a worm before they turn into a winged beauty. It used to give me grief when I came back because I'm steadfast in my theory. Well, I appreciate that. I know. That's because you were giving me grief. I'm having trouble breathing this screen. Oh, whether it's too light or too dark. It's too something. Let me see if I can fix it a little bit. This is very dangerous what I'm doing. But the reality is, I can wind up doing the very opposite of what I want to be able to do. At this point, here we go. What's the matter?
Oh, really? Well, let me just bring it, I can bring it down. Yeah.
I was wondering if having it up high would help, but maybe it doesn't. Well, this is not better. Not better. Night light. That might be better with night light on. Let's try that. That's a little better. Somebody said, "Oh, Brenda just came in and stuck the mic in front of my mouth." Apparently, that sound hadn't been real good. All right, let's see. Scott Scotter Hodes from Lockport, New York. Good to see you. Thank you. Greg is here. Wade nuts. Can I keep Daphne and shrimp in the same tank? Daphne and shrimp in the same tank. It's a good question. Frankly, I don't see why not. Daphne eat algae. They don't eat baby shrimp. And shrimp eat um, slime coat. There are a lot of fungus and also eat vegetable matter, basically. So, yeah, I don't see why you couldn't keep them together. I don't know how they might interfere with each other. I don't think they really will. Now, scuds are a bit problematic because scuds will go after baby shrimp. Diana Roots, nice to see you. Oh, we just started putting the cube together today, and I think I'm going to move the camera. If I suddenly disappear, we all know why. I'm going to do this very carefully and see if we can't get a close up of the cube, which we are very proud of. Well, damn, I did it. I can't touch the confounded thing, honestly. Yeah, camera. For God's sake.
I may have to give this up. I seem not to be able to function on any meaningful level. Oh, dear God. Anybody here? Yeah, we still got people hanging in. An absolute legend. Yeah, legendarily ignorant is dirt. And old as dirt. Who thinks so? Who thinks so? What do you think so? Are we still here? Yeah, we're here. Did the stream die? No. But I did. I think he cut his video feed. Yeah, you're right.
If you want, if you can bring the link up, I can use my camera and get a front view of that tank if that's broken.
If I do that, I'm gonna have to jump it on.
We want to just leave the whole
No, I don't want to. I don't want to mess with it. Thanks. I'm just trying to be helpful. Oh dear, I can't read the text. It's the reason I keep moving in and out. It's too tiny. Let's see. I wonder if I can. Here we go again. Does that make it bigger or smaller? Tech disaster. Yeah, ain't that the truth? All right. Minus video. Right. Okay, we're here. We're back. There right on. Sweet dreams, Grandma. Glad we're back. Grandma. Right. Okay. A lot of these things happen. No big deal. Thank you, Christian. Yeah. Well, it's my third one. Now what happened? It's my third one in less than 10 minutes. Anyway, yeah, here's the new cube. Lights just went off. That's what it was. What we're working on is ground cover. We're trying to learn the secret of ground cover so we can carpet our tanks. So we're experimenting with a number of tanks. We've been growing out ground cover for 6-8 months, I guess. We have about 20 trays that we growed in. In fact, we just upgraded to higher quality trays and covers in order to be able to do a better job with it. And we just I brought back from the Clash some ground covers we did not have. So we're trying some new species. But what we really need to do is figure out how to get that mat with our substrate. Obviously, if you have a commercial grade substrate that has fertilizer in it, you can plant right in it, and for a while, it'll thrive. It won't be long though. In the 3 to 6 months, it'll be depleted, and then you keep having to put fertilizer in, and eventually the whole thing collapses. So what we're trying to do, we did something a little different today. I went into one of our tubs, basically an old tank, and scooped out sand from the surface of it and put that on top of the new sand. So I put dirty sand on top of new sand. That should bring a lot of nutrients in. It'll bring mulch, it'll also bring bacteria and microfauna in. So that's something I haven't done before, but it just makes sense to do it. And the tank cleared up very quickly. It was cloudy for a bit, but all of that came off the bottom, so it just precipitated right back down to the bottom, didn't stay up in the water column at all. So I think that's going to be the solution, is to add old sand on top of new sand. 1/4 of an inch is probably fine. 1/2 an inch would be max in order to get nutrients on the top of that new sand. Otherwise, it takes 3 to 6 months
for it to work its way up from the bottom and precipitate down from the life cycle of the tank. And we have now put a bunch of carpeting types plants in it. So we'll see how they do, see if this is something that'll actually work. The other thing we'll be doing is going out in the next day or two, collecting food web material from some local creeks. And we're going to be putting that in nearly all of our tanks. We haven't done it yet simply because it's just been one thing after another. And even though we've been here more than a year, we're just beginning to catch up with ourselves and just beginning to really focus on taking care of the tanks. Part of that, I think, was staff. We had double the staff in here accomplishing half of the work that half of the staff is now able to do. It was just an utter lack of organization. And that's changed now. The folks who are here are dedicated to organization. We had some folks in who were not dedicated to organization. They were dedicated to enjoying being here. And they did love to be here. But it didn't always turn into getting things done that needed to get done. It more turned into them doing what they really enjoyed doing. So it became a very happy place, but slovenly so. A happy place where not a lot went on that needed to go on to kind of bring things up to snuff. So we kind of lost a year, but we gained a year too. It was fun having them. They were lovely people, wonderful people, people who I love dearly. And the result of it was the business was not growing. It was kind of going down to the point where income couldn't sustain them anymore. And we just had to let them go. Nobody was fired. Nobody was kicked out. Nobody was let go. We got to the point where we didn't have enough money to pay everybody. And so, we kept the, Brenda, we had to keep because we just had to. She'd have killed me if I'd have done otherwise. I wouldn't be here now. And then Bryce stayed with us. And we've turned the corner. I'm very proud of these guys. They've been able to really dig in and make a difference, and we're beginning to see it. So I look for in the next 3 to 6 months, seeing these tanks become really spectacular. They're not bad, but they're not great, and I think we can achieve greatness, MD type greatness. You know what I mean by that. There are no more spectacular tanks than MD's tanks, and I want to get there.
Should I get cloud minnows? Nothing wrong with cloud minnows. If I hit the bottom of the tank, let's see. Had this Wallstead shrimple for a week or so now with 4 cherry shrimp. No one died. No one died. Had one die. Oh, had one die in a week. Well, that was probably not the fault of the tank. That would have been something wrong with the fish when it came in. Anything that dies in the first week or two, unless everything dies, and even then sometimes, it's really not your fault. Let's see, a couple of things I wanted to talk about. This concept of the terminal tank and the living tank. I think this is something that really requires
more and more focus. Posted a video today that was a take on last Tuesday's live stream. That's kind of basically what I'm doing. I'm making videos out of the live streams so that those who don't catch the live stream will catch the video and see the intent of the live stream. So what I'm bringing here is really the most advanced thinking and planning and activity of Father Fish world. But I wanted to talk a little more about this terminal tank. I was talking with someone today from Oklahoma who had kept fish for years, ran into some Wallstead stuff, set up a Wallstead, and then that led to me. And he called me a day after he set up his Wallstead tank. He put some topsoil in a tank and covered it with some gravel. Wanted to know if he should add sand. And of course, he should add sand. Well, as we got through the conversation, I discovered he had not put water in the tank yet. Oh, I thought he had water in the tank. So I suggested to him that he order the supplement. Now, here's the issue. With the Wallstead system, and I know all ones, except they're not. They're actually blind and not just a little arrogant because they dismiss everything I'm doing and everything I'm saying as out of hand foolishness. And they're the ones being foolish because they're not acknowledging the shortcomings of the system, which are really very simple to fix. And the first fix is to get some nutrients in that soil, enough so that 2 to 3 years from now, even 6 months to a year from now, it does not completely deplete and wind up not being able to maintain plants anymore. And that's a consistent problem with people who set up so-called Wallstead tanks. They fail. And they fail because they run out of nutrients. So they begin putting liquid fertilizer in it, or root tabs, or some such thing. And there are other problems that are associated with doing that, having to do with the hormonal activity of the plant. So they wind up damaging the plant by putting in these fertilizers, not realizing there are two things missing. One of the things that's missing is adequate nutrients to keep it going. And the other thing that's missing is organic activity. But there's a third item, and that's got to do with the gravel that they insist upon. Water flows through gravel. That's why under gravel filters work, because water flows through gravel very easily. If you have any kind of current at all, that water is not deterred from flowing through the gravel, reaching down into that soil and washing it up into the water column. It's pretty obvious that that happens. That further depletes the substrate of nutrients. The solution is to add sand. Oh, but the Wallstead advocates say it takes too long for anything to sift down through sand. It'll sift much quicker through gravel. That's true. That's true. But I'm patient. I'm not in a race. They're in a race because they're trying to get nutrients into that soil in the first 90 days. I'm not. I have given myself 3 to 4 years for nutrients to reach the substrate. That's how long the supplement holds up in that substrate. Now it takes upwards of 5 years for the full tank to fully cycle. That is for every living thing in the tank to die, to feed the next smallest living thing, to die, to feed the next smallest living thing, to die, to feed the next smallest living thing, to die, down to the bacteria, and then back to the nutrients from which it came, and back into the plant that brought it up to life. That cycle, that is the cycle. That is the ultimate cycle. That is the cycle of nature. That cycle cannot occur in 90 days. It cannot occur in 6 months. It cannot occur in a year. It begins to develop in 2 years. By year 3, and then by year 4, it is gaining strength. By year 5, it is fully established. Throughout the system, it's every niche is filled with nutrient. It's fully nutrified, if you will. If there are adequate nutrients in the soil to be able to sustain the plants for that 3 to 4 year period, then the tank will thrive continuously. And mine do. And Wallstad's don't. And that's the difference. So, the issue came up in this conversation from Oklahoma that the system taught by industry is one based on keeping anything that potentially could be alive in the tank from being alive in the tank, save fish and certain inverts like shrimp and snails. Typically, that does not include plants. In other words, what these systems are trying to achieve is one in which nothing except the bacteria eating the waste are living in there. So there won't be any parasites. And this is part of the fallacy of maintaining a terminal tank. It's done so in an effort to prevent parasites. Now, on the one hand, that makes some good sense because in reality, 50% of microfauna and macrofauna, for that matter, are parasitic. 50% of all of the little microscopic animals that are in water, in native water, are parasitic. That's pretty scary, isn't it? Not really. Because 99% of those parasites are parasitizing on other parasites, as well as non-parasites. In other words, they're not going after fish. They're going after other microscopic and, if you will, macroscopic creatures. It's only about 1% of the parasites of the macrofauna and microfauna that exist. That's the tiny little creatures that are actually parasitic. And most of them are really not microfauna. They're really pretty big bugs. They're large worms. They're the other kinds of like cephalopods. There are other bigger kinds of creatures that are easily seen. The tiny ones, such as, for example, the ick parasite, which is microscopic. It's very tiny in its firstborn form. When they are born, and they have a very strange life cycle. They are not bisexual. The parasite is not actually a bug. It's a weird kind of animal that when it gets filled with nutrient, drops to the bottom, and its cells subdivide into 140 new little ones, just like it. Weird, isn't it? Very strange. Now, because they're tiny and they're down in their dirt, all of those microparasites are gobbling them up, such that if you don't have them, they'll all come up out and they'll attack your fish. And we've all seen what ick parasites can do to a sterile tank. They can destroy everything in a matter of 1 week, really 4 days. They will kill everything in that tank, make it terminal in 4 days, dead in 7. Unless you have a food web, unless you have maximized biological activity in your tank. And if you do, then you will have the same environment as exists in nature, where the ick parasite is never able to consume a school of fish or even one fish, because it can't exist in those numbers. It's feeding so many other parasites before it gets up out of the dirt that by the time it does, there aren't enough left to create a real problem for the fish. You may find 1 or 2 spots in the wild of ick on a fish. You'll never find more than that, unless something dreadful has occurred and everything has died and the fish are surviving. And then the parasites might make it before they and everything else dies. The point is that having a tank that prevents life from thriving is a tank that succeeds in preventing life from thriving. If you're trying to kill everything but the fish, you are also killing the fish. A terminal tank is a death trap. And you can keep changing the water until you're blue in the face, until you can't bear to change another gallon of water. And then everything will die. Or you can create a living environment in your tank, rarely need to change the water. Notice what I said, rarely need to change the water, rarely. How rare would that be? Hmm, as frequently as once a month, if it's just absolutely loaded with fish and you're overfeeding significantly, you could push it hard to the point where you would have to change about 25% of the water once a month. I changed mine about 25%, most of them every 6 months. Some a little more frequently because there's more biological activity, more fish living in the tank, which means more food, which means there's more biological mass. And it just organically builds up. So by reducing that volume, it allows it to get control of itself. It eventually catches up, but in the process, the organics can overwhelm the system and begin depleting oxygen. And that's where you run into problems. So changing the water is more about reducing over abundant organics as it is anything else. There is a balance, and you can get that balance. It's really not hard to get. You simply need to feed sparingly. I mean, it's really that simple. Have a lot of plants in the tank and feed sparingly, and it'll be fine. Let's see if I can get back to the chat here. I do have a question. I have boogie worms in one of my tanks. Is this a good or a bad thing? This is um, a spiritual boogie worms. Um, yeah, they're nematodes. It's what you feed baby fish. If they're not being eaten, try some other kinds of fish. They're a food. If the fish you have are not eating them, get some really small fish that'll be looking for those tiny little foods. If you can't put tiny fish in, then cut way back on your feeding, and you'll find that they'll begin to disappear. They're there because there's excess nutrient. They're feeding on excess food. You're building biomass. You're building life in the tank. So it's not a bad thing. It's a good thing that's happening. It's also like it's a sign that you have more nutrients going into the tank than the fish and presumably the plants and the other microfauna need. And so there's a population of very specific microfauna that are exploding in population. That means there's nothing feeding on them. Probably because your fish are too big and they're just not interested, which is why the tiny fish can control that. I don't think shrimp will go after them or any other kind of crustacea. Um, Little fish, neons, some of the small tetras, a formosa if you can get them. I'm trying to get a population of formosa going now. Any of the little tiny cichlids like the scarlet batis will be very interested in them. So yeah, it's don't treat it as a toxin. It's not a parasite. It's not dangerous. It's not harming your tank. It's protecting your tank. It's taking advantage of the fact that you have a high level of minerals and of nutrients in your tank. And so it's taking care of that. It has no, um, there's nothing eating it. there's nothing in the tank that's interested in it. And so you've got a missing link, if you will. You need to find something that's going to control that population. Tiny fish will do it if you can house tiny fish in your tank. If not, then you're going to have to reduce the volume of nutrients going into the tank. That's really, those are the only two solutions for that particular problem. All right, what's next here? Make fish tanks great again. You know what? I think if I go over to YouTube, I'll be able to read this text better. Give me a second to jump over there. I don't need to watch myself. Well, there we go. There it is. Live. If it comes up. Let's see if I can. Oh, now I got to go back and shut the volume off. There we go. There. All right. Yes, I can read this better. Thoughts on collecting plants, sticks, and leaves from a local pond to put into an outdoor tub pond. Yeah, excellent idea. That works really well. Why is this Facebook thing? Open and reading by search caps and your devices. Oh, Lord. Block. I save it for back. Honestly. All right. Um, oh, what's my favorite fish? I don't think I have a favorite fish. There's some fish I really like. I tend to be enamored of any oddball I've never had, and some that I've only had rarely. I mean, I like a lot of different fish. Why is this not scrolling? I thought abuse of philander on a moss-covered cave. Oh, bought after leaving the hospital. This is Christian. Left in the bag of water. Some leaves have melted. Yeah, it'll be fine. The roots and stem should be fine. Go ahead and plant it. It'll take a little longer. They're a slow plant, but I've done the same thing and they do come back. So long as the stem is firm and the roots are not rotted, it'll be okay. What are your thoughts on collecting plant sticks? We did that. Father fish never dies. Only temporary technical difficulties. Right. All right. Let's move down here a little. Boogie worms. Boogie worms. Good fish to get in a 5 gallon. That's not a bad. You know, there really are a lot of them. Shrimp is a good one. Just do shrimp. If you do it right, you can get a huge population. Guppies, certainly. Endlers, absolutely. Any of the little tiny tetras, there's so many of them. Um, a 5-gallon tank, you could probably do a pair of German blue rams. Be pushing it. I do them in 10s all the time. You could do a pair in a 5, other than bettas. You can breed bettas in a 5 and then take the parents out when the babies are swimming. Take the female out right as soon as the eggs are laid. Take the males out as soon as the babies are swimming, and then raise the babies up in that tank. We're doing that here. It's a very successful system. Yuri is half asleep. I haven't heard you speak much about the use of heaters. Yeah, well, I use heaters. I use heaters in all my tanks. In fact, I maintain a temperature that's higher than is typically recommended. My baseline temperature is 82. So I'm 82 to 85 typically. May get as low as 80. So my range would be 80 to 85 for nearly all fish. I find they're healthier. I never get ick. Not that it would be much of a problem anyway, but it just, when it happens, it's because the temperature drops. Kick it back up to 86 and the ick is gone. I never lose fish from ink. I should say it that way. My battery's running low. I'm plugged in. Why is the battery? Did I unplug it? It gets weirder and weirder around here. Let's see what's going on. Am I in the light? Yeah. I'm in the timer. Well, maybe one. It wasn't plugged in tight. It wasn't in all the way. You gotta force to get it. Yeah, that's okay. The battery coupling was not snug. Let's see. Well, I just saw a comment, and then that quick, I dropped my mouse, and it disappeared. Here we go. Skits Brew. My first tank was a Wallstead. After 8 months, the plants would die off. Now, with your method, my tank's going 2 years strong. There it is. There it is. It's exactly right. Yeah, Erie's saying his run tanks are years at room temperature. Absolutely no question. You don't have to have a heater if your house temperature is above 70. I find the fish do better if the temperature is 80 to 85. It probably is pushing the life cycle somewhat. I think it's something I've simply gotten into over the years. Having a lower temperature runs the risk of a temperature drop that gets down below 70. And that's a temperature that kills a lot of fish. Not the Central American ones, and not the Chinese and North African, but the tropicals, the true tropicals. Many of them cannot survive in temperatures below 70. If you're keeping a temperature at 72, 74, 75, for me, the risk of the heater going out and the temperature dropping below 70, it threatens the health of the fish. And I don't find the necessity to do it. I'd rather keep them warmer. Um, they that's more summer temperature rather than seasonal fall or spring temperature. Fish do better, I think, in summer temperature. It kind of maximizes. Um, it's critical, though, to have a fully balanced tank, to have a living tank if you're going to do that. Otherwise, that higher temperature will tend to accelerate bacterial growth, for example, and that's something you absolutely don't want if you don't have any way to control it. And that is to say, if you don't have any way to control the excess nutrients, because that is what would cause the bacterial explosion. So being able to control nutrients is critical to being able to maintain a higher temperature. So I have the luxury of doing that because I have a luxury tank. I have a fully balanced, fully uh, food webbed tank in which every aspect of the tank is balanced in accordance with every other aspect. Now, that's not saying things can't happen. Certainly, things can happen. And I've had things happen. Typically, the things that happen are a big fish dying when I'm not around and fouling the water. And by that, I mean a big fish, like a 10-inch Oscar, dying, rotting, and fouling the water and creating a cascade effect in which eventually everything dies. That's disastrous. The other is a sudden excess of nutrient. In other words, a child dumps a can of food in the tank and you don't see it for 2 days. That's disastrous. And a higher temperature will accelerate those crises. No question about it. So, there's a price to pay. I've paid the price one time in the last 20 years. I'm willing to risk it. Usually I can catch it. I just did a water change on some guppies because the water was just a little cloudier than I'd like it to be. And there are a lot of guppies in the tank. So I did a 25% water change. Looking better already. If it doesn't clear up, if it stays cloudy, I may do it again. Never more than 25. I usually recommend 10% because for most people, 10% is 25%. Their 10% is actually 25. Well, something just went away. Now what happened? Oh, I don't know what happened. All right. All water in nature cools at night. Yes, it does. Why do my neurocaridina mate, but that same day my female drops her eggs? That's a good question. If she's dropping her eggs, it's because they are not fertile. So your male is shooting blanks. You probably need to get some more males. It's also possible that there are other factors involving the eggs becoming infected by bacteria, attacked by bacteria or some such thing. So you might set them up in another tank, try it and see if same thing happens. I don't believe I've ever had that happen, But that is precisely why it would happen. She would drop them only if they were not fertile, and then she'll grow a new batch. Tell something about an undergravel filter. I had undergravel filters for years, as did nearly anyone who's been around for 20 years. Um, it's problematic. I found when I put sand on top of the gravel, I no longer needed to worry about cleaning the gravel. And so I ultimately just pulled out the lift tube and let it go. And I was fine. Um, it's probably, on balance, a good way to start a tank without dirt. If you then will add sand and pull out the lift tube. Guys, it's 8 o'clock, and I'm having a problem here. It's a bowel problem, nothing else, but I need to deal with it. So I'm going to say goodnight, and I'll try to get back on later this week so we can continue this conversation. Thanks so much for plugging in. I'll see you all as soon as possible. Bye for now. Well, hello. This is Father Fish. And I'm back with you in a new and exciting format.